Hello, welcome to Sage Time. I'm Lillian here with you today. Welcome to your Leo in 2024 reading. Forgive the chuckling entry. I have had some distractions trying to do this video. So we are here. I am here with you, and the messages have been piping ready for the sign of Leo. Now, of course, if your sun is in Leo, this most definitely is a message that's offering insights and considerations for you to ponder and reflect upon as you listen to this and even review it again throughout the year of 2024. And also, always, we are all 12 signs, so whatever house the constellation of Leo resides in your birth chart is most definitely going to be something to consider, and the influences of that house, as well as other planets and asteroids. If you are somewhat new or totally new to astrology, and or you would simply like another person's entry into perspective of your natal chart and learn more about it, I do offer natal chart interpretations, guidances, and so forth to meet where you are in your knowledge of astrology at this time. And that information on how to book an appointment is in the description below, as well as the cards, the oracle cards and contributors that are participating in your reading today. Something that kept coming up and is still coming up right here and now is my left eye keeps wanting to tuck and hide away and then have the light shine on it. And as I noticed that for this particular reading, I instantly heard Odin's eye. And that is a message for you. I believe it is the left eye of the god Odin, a Nordic god, I believe. And that left eye often is considered the inner sight eye of the seer, of the shaman, of the sage or the mage, and so forth. So that is coming up for you today. And there's something more to it, and we're going to find out as we do the reading. So let's pull some cards. I'm starting with the cards that wanted to be worked with in your reading today. Is the Mystical Shaman Oracle. Oh, I was just reminded before we do that, let's do your, I forgot for Cancer, but they did get a wonderfully long reading. Let's do your plant spirit, kindred medicine speaker that wants to come through for you as an overall and very poignant plant for you this year for 2024. We got two cards. I believe they do both want to come through. So at the end of the reading, I will be discussing these in more detail, but I want to let you see it and take a gander. The first one is Comfry. I love these images. And at the bottom it says completion. So much there. Okay. And then the second one that came out underneath is Yarrow. Look at that. Ancient Egyptian and Sumerian, I'm hearing. At the bottom it says harmony. So we'll return to that. And I tell you, there are so many things that want to come through, so many messages. I will try to keep this as coherent, cohesive, and concise as possible, but as all of you know that have been here for more than a minute on this channel, sometimes there's a lot to say and it takes the time it takes. All right. Okay. No, it wants to be upright. So let me get one more here at least. The first card that came out is called the Rainbow. And the second one that came out is called the Giveaway. And here we go. The third is the Sweat Lodge. Okay, we'll stop at this point for that. Leo. Yep, okay. So this is you, right? Just this beaming, propelled by and leaving behind you in your wake, this inertia and streak and influence of multi-spectrum, multi-perspective, and brilliant, beautiful coloring rainbow. It's one that while you travel in the middle world, you are most certainly connected to the upper world, and you have an eye, that Odin's eye, on the lower world. And while I expect you recognize, as I'm seeing this little point above the representation of the upper world, you represent there's more than just the three. You recognize there is more than just the three realms. You are well established, I'm hearing, in the middle realm. You do well for yourself by the standards that you know are true for you in terms of what is success and what is fulfillment. And I'm hearing right away that that is evolving and becoming something more. And I sense that in the past, well, most certainly, things may not have been quick to come by and easy to come by. You've worked for it, you've earned it. There's a sense of accomplishment and self-recognition in that. And you've felt the limitations. It hasn't, just been all blossoms and berries for you. What a funny phrase to come through. And you're moving from the shadow side of where you've been, as you can see, to the light side of, that we hear the dark side of the moon and the light side of the surface of a planet. You're definitely moving towards that and through that threshold that's bringing you to that. You've made the best you could, and you painted things with sparkles and colors that were not pleasant, that had aspects of a hauntedness and a dreariness or a drudging through. And you didn't paint it with the colors to cover up on it. It's more like you recognized the importance of what it was, and you also found the greater narrative of what it was, which maybe instead of painting it, cracked it open like a geode, cracked it open and revealed that within that not so pleasant and attractive outer appearance of a geode, when you crack it open, there's this magnificent, beautiful, sparkly world inside of it. And so that's what I'm getting from the rainbow. And you're moving forward into the next thing. And here we have the giveaway card. I'm seeing again those feathers. You've created a new way of taking flight by keeping within your feathers, your arsenal, your toolbox is really the best way, I think, to say it. The different shades of darkness. Of course, you understand its importance. You understand the strength and the fuel that it's given you, and it's not stopping you from reaching higher. And I'm being called back down into this darker realm, shall we say. There is an awareness that I'm feeling with you right now of the import, such a fun language that's coming through today, the import of the darkness, in that you have developed an incredible skill in working with that. And I think it's created an interest or a keenness of you to have your eye and your ears attuned into when is it time to be the dynamic stage presentation of the Leo personality. And that, of course, can present itself in many ways. And when is it to go into the depths and the darkness and do so now with a newfound courage? And you're following the seasons now. That is most definitely clear. Here we are in January, and we're at the beginning of the seasonal winter in the Northern Hemisphere. And there's this recognition I feel from you of that it's very counter, right? It can be for people who are really embodying certain levels of their Leo-ness, their shine bright and vivaciously and actively and play and dance. It can be challenging at first to recognize how the opposition has some incredible gifts, of course. And you've done that. And so you're cued into, here we are in the wintry months, the Stillpoint months. And I'm seeing this sequence of planetary movements as a representation of the Stillpoint. You know, when when you look at things like fruit trees or a vineyard, anyone who works with a vineyard and so forth, or flowers and other plants that produce a product in the summertime, it's understood that it's the still point that occurs from a sharp cold snap, a deep freeze. And it is a gathering into the centralization. And when that occurs, it's well understood that the grapes of a vineyard, the fruits of an orchard, the flowers that are carefully tucked beneath the compost of a garden, they end up producing more flavorful and layered fruits, and they're stronger and more resilient to the various types of bugs and insects that have evolved over the seasons, maybe become resistant to toxins like pesticides and so forth. And so now they're more ready and able to resist that and attack the fruits and flowers and so forth. The productivity of the harvest, your season, Leo. And it's really understood by you, this analogy of really valuing the dive deep and enjoying it, because you go in now with a courage that comes from a confidence that you've earned and you've developed and cultivated over time by going into that. Maybe more forcefully, in the sense of like guides really herding you and corralling you into those zones until you could create that sense of confidence in the navigation of the darker, cold, still points, the centralized gathering, the quietude. And so it's become a part of who you are. It's integrated within you, and you welcome it as part of your wholeness, not simply the side of you that's in the sun. And I don't know the phrase that's trying to come through. It's like this courageous quietude that has an equanimous thread throughout all of your seasons. The seasons, of course, in the external world, but the seasons within you too. Courageous quietude. It's a dignified, but without that pride, a knowing, the confidence. You know what I'm saying. And so then, of course, we've got the sweat lodge, which is saying, hey, here you go. 2024 may have more of this. And I'm seeing that there's an in and an out. This person standing in the threshold is not facing, when they face inward, when I can see them facing inward, I know this is a time of deep entry. And when they face outward, I can recognize this is a time of leaving that darker exploration, the deeper exploration. Right now I'm seeing almost a pivot, an in and an out, an in and an out. And I'm reminded of, I wonder if one of you must have a great deal of experience or background in ballet, because that keeps coming up for me, and I keep seeing that with you, Leo, that first of all, in ballet, I remember learning, I didn't take it for all that long, but I remember learning for the first time in a very physical, real life way of how during warm-up stretches, ballerinas will push against the oppositional muscle, the one that isn't the one they're trying to stretch. And they'll create a pressurization of that antagonist muscle is the technical term for it, the medical term for it. And in doing so, when they then go to stretch further the muscles that they're trying to stretch out more, those muscles, the agonists, will stretch more readily. And it's creating this counter pressure to allow the targeted release instead of going straight to the targeted area of the body and stretching and breathing into. Sometimes it's very valuable to work with the antagonist, and that's what's showing up here today, you guys. And I'm seeing also again this illustration. I'm going to move it a little bit closer so maybe you can see the image there of the person in the threshold. So I'm seeing the image of the person in that idea of, if you've ever been a dancer, particularly in ballet or any form of dance, you can feel how moving through your day is different. Moving in your body, with your body, is different. The way you place your feet in each step of every stride, the way your strength is carried within your body, throughout your body, is very different than it is for somebody who's a distance runner or a soccer player or a football player. Of course, that's why it's always encouraged for high-level athletes to do other sports like ballet and things that are entirely different than theirs, because it creates a more holistic strengthening and stature and movement, and it creates a different kind of confidence, as well as a different nature of being within that movement throughout your day-to-day life. So that's what I'm seeing. And then in addition, sorry, this phone is really, there we go. I'm seeing in addition the shadow that this character is being cast from the light within the darkness is, it looks like a warrior to me in a way. Somebody who's holding up this bow and arrow in a triumphant sort of way, not a battling sort of way. It reminds me of the phrase in the Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth. And I'm not a huge Bible person, but I do love how when you delve deeper into the original meanings of the words, when those words were written, the meek in ancient Sumer translates loosely as the ones who know when to sheath their sword or keep their sword sheathed. And it's not how we would use the word meek. And so there's this sense of triumph, like you have these tools, you have these weapons, because of course tools can be used as weapons and weapons can be used as tools. And you know to use them for a greater benefit, not only a greater benefit to yourself and to others, but in the sense of how does this ripple out throughout time, and how does it heal the time and the lineages before me. So I am going to pull a couple cards from the Green Witch Oracle deck and see, I had an inclination that they might want to come in and offer a bit more clarification, highlight, depth. It's always funny when I have cards pull out that don't make sense at first, which is pretty much most of the time, and then the messages reveal themselves. So there's a message for you as well. Allowing yourself in a cognitive way to get lost in order to find your way. Let's do one. Nope. Okay. So the first card that came out underneath the rainbow in the giveaway is, I don't know if you can see it with the bright light, the potion card. So the first word that came up instantly is alchemist. And you're learning new ways to be an alchemist. Certainly the solutions contained within the bottle, within each bottle, have their purpose. And the crystals also magnify the symbols that are runes and have deeper meaning to you that are attached to these containers. They all add to the magic that is contained within each container. And I'm seeing in the purple bottle the flowers that make up the ingredients. And that tells me, just like as we spoke about before, the cold snap that creates a requirement to gather one's self, one's consciousness, one's awareness, one's energetic field more consolidated and concentrated within that central line, that vortex of the body and the incarnation. You are also seeing how that plays in the natural world around you, the plants within you, and in the sense of how you engage with them and interact with them. So making a potion is one thing. Creating a formula, it doesn't need to be a literal sense of a potion, a tea, or anything that it can be. But it can also be a formula for life in the sense of how you want to proceed through things and who you want to be and how you want to engage and interact. And that's really something that I'm hearing coming through. You are delving into a greater refinement of every aspect that you've learned about yourself that you weren't consciously aware of before. Every aspect of yourself in how it relates and engages and interacts with every step of your movement throughout the day. When you do the dishes, you are paying more attention to the breath work and the mind chatter and the openness and flow and vulnerability that you are having while you have this counter antagonist or agonist reflex and tension of action. You're able to create that other counter of openness and relaxation, and that requires an incredible amount of attention and focus. So as I'm saying this, I'm saying this as something that is already done and true, and in many senses you have already opened up into this. And also I'm being reminded that this is very much your journey for the year of 2024, is to allow this affirmation and confirmation of true, because it's already done. It's already been kind of decided by the higher aspects of you that this is the year of you cultivating and this awareness and this interactive engagement, interfacement with the world around you. This is the journey that you're on, and you can see this walking stick. It's waiting for you to pick it up. Right now, the figure is at the distance, at the peak, and he or she is reflecting upon and engaging with the majesty of the world around them in all of its forms, natural and peaceful, chaotic and concrete, machinery and stillness and wonderment. He's going to be coming back and taking his walking stick with that rune at the very top, that symbol to remind him of what he's doing and why, because sometimes on your journey we get lost to find our way, right? And then underneath it says words like support and encouragement. You are not alone. And that is the reminder, as you can see the gulls, the seagulls above the figure at the distance. You are surrounded with, oh, is it a figure? Maybe not. Well, I said it was, so it is in this reading. You're surrounded with, in the airs, in the ethers, incredible amount of support. And while that support, there's a sneeze coming through, excuse me. I'd rather not sneeze on camera. Sneezes for me are a point of completion, cleanse, and you're done with that. They can be big and small. And so there is a completion that's happened and is happening right now, and a cleansing of what is no longer needed, and you're carrying with you what is on your staff. That support that's in the ethers around you, behind you, while it can help you and corral you and guide you and encourage you without your asking, it has more potency and, quite honestly, enjoyment when you call upon it, for one, and release it when something is complete and call upon it again. And make sure your intention is where you want it to be to produce akin results. So if there's an agenda that is a bit more self-serving or tainted with some wounds, there's going to be a result that still reflects that. So be aware of that and be okay with if that happens. It's all about the learning. What else was I going to say? Well, if it needs to be said, it'll come back. The communication is asking to be between you and your guides, your spirit team, as well as your ancestors, as well as if you work with ascended masters and others, of course. It is being brought up and encouraged to spend more attention and interest in fostering and cultivating the relationship between yourself in this world and them as they're helping you, around you, and within you, to create a more enjoyable relationship with them, because that's going to simply add more delight and wonder to all the parts of your path, all the layers and levels and dimensions of your journeys. Is there anything else that wants to be said? There's a closing in that, so we're gonna honor that closing. That's a good message, a good series of messages. Let's go to your 2024 plant spirit medicine that wants to be included. We'll see if they both want to come through. And also thank you to everyone for your support of this channel, subscribing, liking, commenting if you feel called and comfortable. It's always a wonderful support and energetic exchange, and I truly appreciate it. I appreciate you being here, even in a quietude. So all ways that are right for you are honored and appreciated. So let's look here. Comfry, completion, right? We talked about that with my sneeze. And the rainbow card at the beginning. So this archway is a threshold to me, and there's all these tools. There's crystals and animal spirits, and this particular animal I'm seeing up in the upper right hand side is a more mythical being. So I have a feeling that you've spent some time probably both interacting with mythical dimensions as well as potentially researching some of the mythology that we have in our literature. There's bones beneath the crystal of what's done, dead and dusted, as a friend of mine likes to say. It's done, it's dead and dusted. It's complete. And so the comfrey plant is here to remind you that there is a sense of, well, here it is, a sense of achievement and completion of a cycle. There is success, absolutely. And there is closure and wholeness in that completion and mending. I'm going to go ahead and, no, okay, I'm going to read it. Comfrey, also known as bone set or knit bone, has been cultivated for its healing properties since 400 BCE. It was used by the ancient Greeks, Romans, and Celts, and many more to heal broken bones, bind wounds, and stop heavy bleeding. Symphytum, the Latin genus, comes from the Greek word symphio, meaning to grow together, and phyton, the species, meaning plant. Comfrey comes from the Latin confirmare, which also means to grow together. The Greek historian Herodotus recommended comfrey to stop severe bleeding internally and externally. Later, Greeks used it to heal lung problems. So right there, just in that first two little bits, when you look at it from as within, so without, comfrey healing the structure of the self, the bone and the blood, the flow. So this is really something that has finally come to a very pointed conclusion for you. You've worked hard at working at the bones of who you are, the structure and stability of who you are, as well as the flow, the circulatory, the bringing in of oxygen, and then cleansing and supporting organs in the brain, and the flushing out of toxins with the exhale, and then bringing it to the lungs being the area, of course, it's the heart chakra. It's also the area as known in traditional Chinese medicine. When it's not in its wholeness, it's where we contain our grief. And so you'll see things like bronchitis, upper respiratory issues. When there is, in different variations and presentations, when there is unresolved grief. And so you've done that work. You've done it big. You know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's ruled by Saturn. It's also talking about healing the skin and the muscular system. So this is really your entire physicality body. You could look at it in terms of your house. You've healed your personal house, and your external house and home is now healing tangentially, the ripple or domino effect from that. Let's see if anything else stands out. It is a plant that is associated with Saturn, and Saturn grants wisdom through challenges. Like Saturn, comfrey heals the general musculoskeletal system. So again, as we spoke about in the beginning of the reading, this is what you've done and what you've completed and what you are continuing to do in more refined, deeper ways. I'm seeing to not be afraid to continue to prune and heal the garden of the self. The cycle is nearing completion. And I feel that the big part of your completion that's been done is the part of the fear to move into those darker aspects of yourself, where now there is a deeper, more requited courage, so that this full completion is, it's done, even though there are more steps to do. You are guided, you are supported by your guides, by so many, your whole entire entourage in spirit, shall we say. Okay, now we're up there in time, but I don't want to ignore Yarrow. It definitely wants to come through, even though I'm feeling my own concerns of time and attention needs for everyone. Okay, Yarrow, number 15. If you can see it with the light castings. Harmony is the highlighted word. Its genus and species is Achillea millefolium. And the keywords that are brought in is equilibrium, balance, discernment, nourished psychic field, divinatory empathy, and sensitivity. So I'll read this first paragraph. The Latin name for Yarrow comes from the hero of Greek myth, Achilles, who is said to give Yarrow to his soldiers to heal wounds and staunch bleeding during the Trojan Wars. Embraced back thousands of years in healing practices, including Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine, and Native American First Peoples practices. In Spain, a 50,000-year-old Neanderthal skull was found with traces of yarrow in their teeth. Yarrow's historical use as a divinatory flower is extensive. In China, yarrow stalks are gathered, and the straightest ones are used. Straightest ones are collected for scattering to read the divinatory I Ching. Interesting. I did not know that. So a divinatory tool. Called devil's nettle or devil's plaything in European traditions, it was one of the herbs dedicated to the evil one and was used for divination and spells. It's ruled by Venus. Yarrow is said to provide relief from patterns of disharmony and cleanse one of unhealthy sorrow or trickling depression, that lung grief, unresolved grief. Yarrow embodies harmony. It's a key concept of Venusian symbology. The balancing force represented by Libra, one of Venus's rulers, and is an appropriate metaphor for how harmonizing Yarrow is as a medicine. And I also discuss then self-love, unity, and empathy, which go along with the Venusian themes. A couple of things that came up when it was speaking of, I don't know what it was, just as a medicine and engaging with those plants to create medicines. And you don't have to necessarily create a potion or a tea, a solvent, or a tincture with the medicine. If that's where you are, most definitely do that and enjoy it and be in ceremony in every part of it. If you can, if you have a garden or a pot at the window, plant the seeds of the plants that are calling to you the most this year to be connected with, and be in ceremony with every watering. Connect with it every day. Let it be your friend. Connect with the spirit and the ancestors of the yarrow and the comfrey spirit, plant spirit. Connect with it and open yourself to conversation with it. It might often, especially in the beginning, if you're new to this, it'll feel like, am I making this up? Is this my imagination? And the answer, of course, is yes, and it's also true. And the more you explore, the more refined you will be to knowing the clarity of that communication in both directions, how to be in communication and be in presence with a plant and the world around you in all the steps of working with it, as well as its communication back to you on what it needs and what it's trying to guide and message and teach you. The teacher as student and student as teacher is what's coming up. So this is your Leo 2024, Leo in 2024 reading. I do hope that it serves you and opens areas up within you that you have been calling forth into yourself and into your life to live a more fulfilled and enjoyable, playful, and wondrous life. Thank you for being here, friends. Blessings to you all.